Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law to practice keeping her opinions to herself because she doesn't get a say in how my kids eat? I'm 30 male, a stay-at-home dad, my wife 29 female, and I have 2 kids together. Our oldest is 4 and our youngest is 18 months. I became the stay-at-home parent when our oldest was born. My brother, 36 male, is married to sister-in-law, 39 female, and they have 5 kids together between the ages of 4 and 10. Sister-in-law was stunned when I became the stay-at-home parent versus my wife. She has a more traditional view of marriage and family and believes the mom is more important in the home than the dad, and that the dad is more important as the provider. Stunned and traditional are her choice of words, just so you're aware. So I always felt like she was more critical of me as a parent. Maybe not in clear ways before now, but her attitude made me feel like she was watching closely to see if I was good enough. The way my wife and I feed our kids is different to how my sister-in-law and my brother feed their kids. Sister-in-law believes in 3 meals a day, no matter what the age, and nothing more or less. She believes that is the way it has been done for centuries, and it works. My wife and I approach it differently. We feed the kids smaller, more frequent meals and snacks. Because of this, I carry around lunch boxes for both my kids that have foods they eat throughout the day if we go anywhere. And at home, my wife or I have stuff pre-made and ready to go. This means my kids eat little meals or snacks every 3-ish hours. Not large quantities, but smaller and more frequently than my nieces and nephews. Sister-in-law thinks it's insanity, and she has told me I make more work for myself and claims I'm trying to be different because I'm a dad doing the primary caregiving. She told me I should practice doing things differently because in the real world, this stuff won't work, and preschool and school won't allow for this. Which isn't true with the where we have chosen to send our kids to school. But she doesn't want to hear that. I spoke to my brother about his wife's comments on the choices my wife and I made to feed our kids and how it's not helpful or needed. He said he knows, but that it's just how she is. I told him if she keeps it up, she will be told to shut up, maybe or maybe not in a nicer way. He just shrugged. I hit this limit on Friday when sister-in-law saw me out with the kids and my dad and father-in-law. The 3 of us grocery shop together some Fridays. She brought it up out of nowhere because she saw the bag I keep the lunch boxes in. She didn't even see them eat anything, but needed to say something. She told me I should practice better eating habits, and I told her she should practice keeping her opinions to herself because she doesn't get a say in how my kids eat. And she doesn't get to open her big mouth about it every time she sees me now. She stormed off outraged, and there have been multiple texts from her and my brother since. He's mostly just telling me what she's saying, but she is big mad. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It just seems to me that sister-in-law feels personally attacked by a man filling familial responsibilities traditionally done by women. And from the looks of it, doing a good job of it too. It's her problem, and she's trying to make it yours by nitpicking at your every action. Thank you. I do get the sense she has some personal issue with a dad doing the day-to-day stuff. I'll never understand why it has to be the mom doing that, while the dad has to be the provider. Sure, it works for some, but families come in so many shapes and sizes now, and it should be about what works best for each family and what's realistic for each family. My guess it probably goes back to sisters-in-law own family growing up. Traditional setups deeply rooted in her, or perhaps jealous if her own father was uninvolved. She was never allowed to learn any other skills or pursue any other ambition. If she accepts men can also care for children, she has to accept she could have made different choices herself, instead of blindly accepting the role she was raised to believe was her only option. Not the a-hole, you aren't starving your children, so sister-in-law needs to chill out. Now, if you really want to go there, just tell her if she's so into traditional norms, then perhaps she shouldn't as a woman speak to you that way, since you are a man and would like to be shown respect as one. And in fact, you are disappointed she is choosing to belittle you, since it's not her place. Oh, I love this answer. Beat her with her own weapons. OP, if you go this route, you might want to have aloe in the bag for the burn. Am I the a-hole for agreeing with my mom that it's kind of pathetic my wife can't cook? I, 28 male, have been married to my wife, 31 female, for about a year. Overall, things are great, but one thing that's been bugging me is that my wife doesn't know how to cook at all. I've always been the one to handle meals, which I was fine with in the beginning because I enjoy cooking. But over time, it started to wear on me, especially when I come home after a long day at work and still have to cook dinner while she relaxes. She refuses to cook and claims there is nothing wrong with not being able to cook. It's been an ongoing issue between us. I have been trying to teach her, but she is really bad at it. Many conversation about this. The other night, my mom, 56 female, came over for dinner. As usual, I was in the kitchen preparing everything, and my wife was sitting with my mom. At one point, my mom offered to help, and I asked if she could make the gravy or cut some fruit. My wife was standing around in the kitchen when my mom handed her a knife and asked her to cut some fruit while she handled the gravy. My wife couldn't figure out how to hold it properly and ended up making a mess. My mom watched her fail to cut the fruit and then blurted out, "It's honestly kind of pathetic that you don't even know how to cut a piece of fruit at your age." She then went behind her and started to guide her how to cut stuff like you do with a kid. My wife kinda shrugged and finished cutting her fruit with my mom guiding her dinner happens. And I noticed my wife was not happy the whole night. My mom left, and she was pissed I didn't defend her, that I embarrassed her by letting it happen. We got into a bad argument, and I told her that it is pathetic she cannot even cut fruit. She is literally older than me and can't hold a knife properly. She told me that is not the point, and I needed to defend her, and it's not her fault she is bad at cooking. I point out it is, and she is embarrassed because not being able to hold a knife properly is embarrassing for an adult. My wife thinks I am a huge jerk. Info, does she do the dishes, help clean up? I don't think it really matters which partner does the cooking necessarily, as long as the other is helping, and the standard deal that almost everyone seems to follow is that if one person cooks, the other person cleans up. In my house, my wife usually cooks and I usually clean, which is fine because she enjoys cooking and is good. I'm okay, I can cook, but she's definitely better. My mom and stepfather, though, are essentially the opposite. She got home from work late usually and isn't a great cook anyways. So he cooks and she does the dishes. And yes, it is kinda pathetic that she can't even use a knife. Even if you aren't a good cook, you should at least be able to figure out how to hold a knife. That's just silly. No, not really. I usually clean as a cook, so not much to do, and I don't really count putting your dish in the dishwasher to be much. Not the a-hole. She should be helping somehow. You're not her personal chef. Even if she did, she still needs to know how to provide for herself, at the bare minimum. Everyone sucks here. Your mom shouldn't have called her pathetic. And I can see why your wife would be hurt that you didn't say anything to defend her. You shouldn't have called her pathetic either. That isn't constructive and will only make her feel hurt and defensive. It isn't fair for her to expect you to do all the cooking and needs to make a reasonable effort to learn, especially something as basic as holding a knife. Did she not have a parent who could teach her? It might not necessarily be her fault that she never learned when she was young, but she does need to be open to learning more now, so it doesn't all fall to you. As an adult, she's the only one responsible now for her gaps in knowledge and has ample resources to fill them. At this point, it's weaponized incompetence on her part, since she refuses to even try. Insulting someone is the best way to kill their want to learn. If you and your mom make this a negative experience for her, she will not want to learn. You need to sit down and have an adult conversation with her that cooking everything has been too much on you, and you'd like to bond with her through helping her learn to cook. Maybe you could even get one of those subscription boxes, like HelloFresh once a week, an easy meal with all of the ingredients and recipe to follow, and you two can make a couple's night out of it. Thank you. The question isn't, shouldn't my wife know how to cook? The question is, should my wife be upset that I let my mother insult her and did nothing? Because for that, huge you are the a-hole. Would you have the same attitude if this was a husband who showed weaponized incompetence with cooking instead? Or is it weaponized incompetence only when men do it? I have a feeling you'd be perfectly fine and actually join in the insults if it were a husband who refused to cook and sat on his ass while his wife worked all day. Your internalized misandry is showing. Two things can be true at the same time. The wife should know how to cook and be able to help around the house. And also OP shouldn't have let his mom call his wife pathetic. If OP doesn't like it, he should have an adult conversation with his wife about it. not let his mom be disrespectful toward the person he married.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos.